What is going on, everybody? It's Andy here with you for another episode of the You're Still Here podcast. We're here. It's coming towards the end of March. We're heading to April Fool's Day. You want to know what the April Fool's Day is this year? It's the same thing that it's been the last couple of years, that it's actually going to be warm on April 1st, because it's absolutely, April 1st is in the middle of winter these days. And I've explained my theory on global shifting so many times throughout the course of this podcast that I don't really want to re-explain it. But then again, if you are a new listener and you're wondering what the hell global shifting is, I doubt you're actually going to go episode by episode through the old catalog and figure out what the hell it is and dig when I finally found. You should be able to do that. There should be, in the next 5 years, you should be able to search my podcast. Because now think about it. If you upload a video to Instagram, if you're on any sort of app, or even if you're on FaceTime, they give you live captions. Slack gives you live captions. You should be able to type global shifting when you're searching through somebody's catalog, and it will pop every podcast where I've used the term global shifting, because there's been at least 5 or 6. But let me give you the hurry up version for any new listeners. I believe that Gregorian, the standard creator of the calendar that me and you go by, the 365-day-a-year calendar, made a miscalculation. Now, we already know that he made a miscalculation because every 4 years we have to add a leap year to account for that miscalculation. That's why we have to throw in an extra day every 4 years, because whenever that was, whatever tools, whatever protractors he was using to figure out how many days are in a year, I think he did a ton of work. Like he did a thesis level amount of work. And at the very end, somebody was like, yo, I think we messed up a .01. And he goes, come on, dude. Are you kidding me? You think I'm going to redo all that stuff? We've been here 7 years trying to calculate a year. And I only know how to use that term year 7 years because we're finally done with the work. We can't go back and undo that. So what can we do? And they did a hurry-up calculation of what they needed to fix their original errors, and that was add 1 day every 4 years. By the way, if you think I'm being serious, I have absolutely no clue why that leap year was added, but I think it's because of the Gregorian's miscalculation. That's what you should start saying for leap year. Happy Gregorian's miscalculation day. Oh, you were born on February 29th? You're a Gregorian miscalculations, baby. So I believe that Gregorian, when reconfiguring that leap year recalculation, he was off once again. A double Gregorian mistake is what led to the current climate that you're seeing. So much for a hurry-up offense, but I'm actually building on things that I've said last time. I believe that the miscalculation he made to account for the time lost for the leap year was actually off once again. And now every 100 years, the calendar is just shifting another few days to the right. And what used to be March 1st is now like March 23rd. And every year, it's kind of like what they say about sea level. You're not going to see it right away. Oh, well, who cares? But, 0.1. But then all of a sudden they say, oh, yeah, but, if it actually goes up an inch, all of Florida's dead. One of those type of things. And Gregorian's slowly been shifting that calendar to the right. And that's why you're eating in your backyard on Christmas Eve. That's why it's completely warm. And opening day at Fenway Park is an absolute blizzard. All schools are called off because there's that much snow on April 1st. That's what global shifting is. Gregorian's miscalculation, which has shifted the calendar to the right. And what did that have to do with? Yes, the weather here in theoretical spring. We'll talk like it's the weather that people suggest is at the end of March and at the beginning of April. It's supposed to be nicer, right? Supposed to be getting into the 60s and eventually 70s. I mean, we all know that's not going to happen. What I want to know is how come that during the spring, or whatever's left of the spring these days, doesn't feel as good as those same exact temperatures during the fall? Do you understand what I'm saying? Why is it that on a fall night, 63 degrees, you got your windbreaker on, even though nobody wears windbreakers anymore? It feels great. You go out. It's like, oh my God, this feels awesome. What a perfect temperature. What a great night this is going to be. How come you don't say those same things during the spring? How come that if I took a thermometer out in October 15th, I got that thermometer out, says 63. But then April 20th, it also says 63. How come the April 20th 63 doesn't feel as good as the October 15th 63? Why? It says 63 on both of the thermometers. And don't give me your fake answers. I know you're going to come up with something on the fly. All I could come up with on the fly was that coming out of the summer, naturally a little bit cooler feels nicer. And then coming out of the winter, 63 actually feels like summer, so it doesn't have that same fall. You know how on February 15th, when they give you that one day that is like 50 degrees, you're like, oh, we got to wear shorts and a t-shirt out there. So by the time it gets to like 65, I think you already look at that as heat. That's the only kind of thing that I came up with that makes some sort of sense as to why the dueling 63s don't match each other. You understand what I'm saying? By the way, I guess I have a little explaining to do here. You're like, what the hell is that directly to your right and your left? And sorry for those of you who are just listening right now. This is on YouTube and I'm describing what's around me and you're seeing some things around here. Well, if you're coming here from the Odd Shopper channel, which is a separate channel that I do some sports betting work for, you know what's around me. But if you've watched these videos for a long time, we have some merchandise, which is currently on me. And we have a rotating nose sculpture to my right. And this all stems from the sports picks that I give on the Odd Shopper Sports Betting channel, where I don't call them picks, I call them sniffs. I say I'm sniffing this, I'm smelling that. So that's where this whole sniffs thing came from. And you can see this rotating nose sculpture, which I had to dig off the bunkers of the internet and convinced a lady to go like 70% off to sell me. Because, because Mr. Beast says, oh, well, whatever you make, you got to reinvest into the channel. And then you're going to be paid tenfold until you're me. Your name is Andy, where you go, okay, I'm finally making a few dollars from all these shows. Let me try to reinvest into it. Let me get this nose vase. And then everyone goes away and you end up losing the money that you had and you shouldn't have spent money on ridiculous things in the first place. Who's right? Mr. Beast says put your money back into it. But legend says a fool and his gold are soon parted. Where do I lie in that mix? As I look at a nose statue directly to my right, I think I might fall in the latter. Because another little investment I made is this shirt that you probably see right here. And this stemmed from when I was on a hot streak and I made everybody a bunch of money. All doubters who came to the channel, I opened up one of my episodes saying, you know what? On this channel, sniffing is believing in the Joel Osteen fashion. And now we got ourselves a sniffing is believing shirt, which I'm currently donning right now. There's more on the way. But as of right now, this is the first test shirt, which I'm going to be selling starting for the NHL playoffs. And I can assure you, I never, ever, and the rock means ever, thought I was going to be a guy selling anything. I was never going to be a merchandise guy. If anything, I would make fun of people who would do something like that. But enough people asked. So if you ask, I'm going to do my part to make things good. I didn't just go to Zazzle and print out some $5 shirts. I got good logos made. I got comfortable ass shirts, and they're going to be on sale starting when the NHL playoffs start, which is about in a month from now. So that's what you're seeing around me right now. As one of, I've never liked to use the term fans, but as one of the people who enjoy my videos said, I want that sniff drip. So we got sniff drip coming out in a couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to it because I still secretly believe that everyone says they want it, just like people say, oh, I want to go out, I'll be out for your birthday, and then the night of, it's you and, I don't know, maybe your brother because he's obligated to go. But I guess we will see. We will see. As I told them, I lived up to my end of the bargain. We will see if they live up to their end of the bargain. I was just talking about, that fall weather. If you know me, I love me some horror movies, which I always love raking up. Actually, I watch them every month of the year. St. Patrick's Day, I'm watching it. That just happened last week. I'm watching a horror movie. Whatever the holiday is, I'm watching a horror movie. And I just watched Scream, the new Scream, which is in movie theaters. Something tells me that many of you are not going to be watching this movie. But on the off chance that you're a horror movie guy, girl, here's my quick review. It's not as awful as the last one, which is good, but still just multiple tiers down from the original style of horror movies and the original Scream. Now, naturally, after you watch the new movie, you go back and watch some of the older movies. And if you have a minute of your time, even if you don't like horror movies, you don't watch anything, you know I like pointing out preposterous things, preposterous situations. You need to go rewatch just the opening scene. You could probably even get it on YouTube of Scream 2. The opening scene from Scream 2 in the movie theater. Basically what happens is they're at a viewing of a movie just like the movie Scream called Stab, based on the events from the first movie. And what happens is that's where the first killing happens. So they're in a movie theater and somebody uses the disguise of this Stab movie to actually show up in the costume and stab somebody. Now, the funniest part that you need to watch, really do it. Just press pause on this and go watch it. Watch the people in the movie theater. Do you want to talk about the most unrealistic situation? So they're in a horror movie watching something like the movie Scream. Every other person is in a costume, constantly doing a stabbing motion. They're throwing popcorn from the back of the theater to the front. Now, I don't know where you live. I don't know what kind of movie theaters that you guys go to, but it is the most preposterous movie theater experience you would have ever seen. People are just screaming during the movie. It looks like a mosh pit. And why do they do this? Because it's the only way you can justify an actual murdering happening and it's just being blended in and disguised if it's a raucous movie theater environment. So they just had everybody in like a concert fashion during a movie, so you can't even hear everything that's going on. But just watch that opening scene and have yourself a laugh. And if you don't want to do that, there are some other things that you can watch, like some things that caught my eye online these last couple of weeks. There's a show called, hold on, I'm gonna look this up. I think I referenced this thing on the last episode of the podcast. It is hold on, let me look up the name of the show. It's called WTF. Damn it. I forgot the name. I think it's called, The Whatever Podcast. The Whatever Podcast. And I was in one of those, I saw all those clips that were going viral and I'm like, you know what? I fell for it because, they put that 1 minute up there just to really lure you in. It's these hot button topics. Essentially, I'll break down this show. There are a couple guys and then a bunch of like TikTok-ish younger girls talking about their dating experience. I'm like, why am I going to do this to myself? I'm going to get livid. I went into it thinking that I was just going to be livid at the girls' responses and just the stuff that you're seeing more and more. They bring on girls who have OnlyFans accounts and girls who are doing this in TikTok relationships and blah, blah, blah. Exposing, a lot of the nonsense that's going on with the kids these days. I went into it thinking, why am I going to do this to myself? I'm going to hate all these girls. And I ended up hating the guy. Do you know how much it is for me how much it takes for me to think someone's a condescending prick? This guy's a condescending prick. And do you want to know what me and this guy have in common? I guess other than being condescending pricks? It was another reason I hated the show. On his table, I saw a piece of the aggro crag. In fact, the same piece of the aggro crag that you're seeing behind me here in this studio. And doesn't it look a little bit small to you? Doesn't that aggro crag piece look a little bit small to you? Yeah, it's because we fell for the same scam. Me and the host of the Whatever Podcast, we fell for the same scam because that one is the same one that he got on Etsy, where the pictures, it looks like an actual piece of the aggro crag, which if you're wondering how big is that, it's like the size of a truck tire. If you've ever seen the show on Nickelodeon, Guts, the actual piece of the aggro crag is like the size of an actual truck tire. So somebody is selling it on Etsy, and all the pictures disguise it. It's strategic lenses, fisheye angles. They're using more filters and strategic angles than one of the biggest catfishes you'll see on Hinge, Bumble, you name the app. And then it showed up, and I was equally as disappointed. I may have even been more disappointed than if I saw some disgusting person who completely falsified their pictures. I would be equally as disgusted if a 54-year-old Ukrainian man showed up instead of the girl that I thought. That's basically what I felt when this arrived, because I was hoping to have a huge decoration. You see that Mario Brothers box behind me? That box? That's what something's supposed to look like, an actual decoration. We got scammed. Really, that's like a paperweight. That Global Guts Aggro Crag thing that you saw behind me is a paperweight. And we both got scammed. And as you know, if you've watched this show, which has the scam of the week, I pride myself on scam prevent. My whole life is scam prevent defense. I'll forego doing actual things that can better my life on the 9% chance I'm getting scammed. So I don't like that I got scammed with that, but so did that guy. But at least, since that guy's a condescending prick, and granted, I'm taking that from one episode. You know, as many people could have come across one of my videos, and I'm the worst human you've ever seen. Maybe the guy was having a bad day, but wasn't a fan how he was conducting the interview. You gotta imagine him taking invite. His stuff has blown up beyond belief. There's millions of subscribers, and then a random guy who has a couple hundred people watching this video is going to give him advice, and he's going to take it. My advice to that guy would let your guests hang themselves. You're trying to curve their hanging. They're doing it to themselves. You don't need to give your little snarky remarks, because then it will make your viewer root for them. You made me root for them. The last people that I would ever want to root for. Like, speaking of if this was The Last of Us and they were one of the last non-fungus people, I would say, no, I'd rather you just get fungus like the rest of them. That's how little I liked the majority of those guests. But then I ended up throwing him to the fungus too. And that was it for me and the Whatever podcast.
Fungus.
So I stumbled into that clip as I was doing my daily scrolls on social media, probably like the majority of you. You know, you're doing your scrolls, you see a clip from this podcast, see a clip from that podcast, and then the goal is for them to have you go check it out. Well, there was another thing that I saw on there. I don't know, the majority of these podcasts, and that's really something coming from me, because if my clip was to show up on somebody else's feed, they'd be like, who is this person and what the hell podcast is it? Who is this absolute nobody? But then again, maybe on TikTok, remember, not everybody's a nobody anymore. You can walk around like an ape and then you'll be on the set of Planet of the Apes, like I described in the last podcast. However, there was a clip from one of these, I'm just going to call them TikTok podcasts, where you're seeing a clip from a new podcast you've never seen, you never heard. And remember, it ain't too expensive to set up your own podcast, because Lord knows I ain't the richest guy in the world. Look behind me. Looks professional enough to the point where if I show up on someone's feed, like, oh, what show is this? What show is this? Anyway, I saw a clip from something where now there is a term for something that guys are doing, and I think a lot of girls are getting upset. These guys are called passport bros. Passport bros. And these people, what they're doing is they're going to other countries to find a wife who's more old school, let's just say, than a lot of the girls that I guess they've been, than the girls that you see on the Whatever podcast with their OnlyFans accounts. So I guess the thought is passport bros are going to other countries. They're going to Bulgaria. They're going to Brazil. They're going to the tip of Argentina. They're going to Patagonia and finding some southern Argentina penguin-dwelling chicks. And then they're wrangling them up and bringing them back here. And I guess it's upsetting a lot of people. I guess they're being called douches. They're being called, I don't know. I didn't watch enough to know what they're being called, other than they're taking a lot of flack for it. I would tell the people who are worried about passport bros not to worry anymore. I mean, that's been there. Forget about been there, done that. I stopped before I even would start a process like that. You think we all haven't ran through the process? This started in high school with me. I always said, oh man, I got bad luck over here. I bet you if I went to 2 high schools over, I'd be the best over there. This is all justification. And I know you're thinking like, oh, well, no. When I was in college, people were like, well, Andy, you just need to find somebody who's not a New Yorker. You just got to go find somebody in Illinois. They're going to be more relaxed. I've told you this before. People from Illinois are New Yorkers. They're just not in New York yet. I saw a good friend of mine from college. He was from Orange County, California. It was all, hey, beach tacos, fish tacos, bro. Let's just go to Wahoo. Hang 10, man. Why you getting, who cares if the Angels beat the Yankees beat the, that guy did one internship in New York City. Out came the gray hairs. Out came the anxiety. Everybody is in New York. They just don't happen to be placed in New York yet. And that should foil any of these people's passport bro plans. You think if you find somebody in Iceland, I've told this story of when I was in a bachelor party in Iceland. We took ATVs on the side of a mountain. And then afterward, the tour guides or whatever brought us to what I will call the Iceland version of Dave and Buster's. It was like an arcade. It had like a small maybe basketball court or something. And it was like a Dave and Buster's type place where you order burgers and whatnot. The girl at the bar at the Dave and Buster's type place in Iceland. Oh man, I was about to try to come up with an Icelandic name. I can assure you, you don't want that. The Icelandic names are outrageously long and difficult to say. Like one of the tour guides we had, she's like, oh, you can call me Heidi. I'm like, oh, come on, we don't have to be dirtbag Americans. We'll call you by your name. She goes, oh, okay, no problem. It's Heidi ear. And then there was an ear at the end, I remember. Okay, no, sorry, we'll do Heidi. These are the craziest names ever. Do you remember that Billy Madison scene where he's prepping for the academic decathlon? And I forget what language he's learning, but it's like, and there's mumbling for 10 minutes, and then he goes, hi, how are you? That's the translation. That's what it was like for the name. It's the craziest names you've ever seen in your life. Hold on, I got to rewind the clock. I've already lost track of what I was talking about. But yes, the unbelievably attractive girl at Dave & Buster's. This girl, I swear to you, I don't know where you are right now. I don't know how old you are. I don't know what you've been doing. If you've been to Vegas, you've been to New York City, you've been to Miami, you've been to Toronto, whatever. The hottest bottle girl, the hottest waitress. This is what this girl looked like. And she just had a random day shift at the Dave & Buster's. She didn't know how hot she was. Everyone and they were all blondes. They were all hot. They could all be cover magazine models. But they don't know. They're walking around looking in a mirror maze. Everybody's the same person over there. And you think I didn't have the thought, well, I bet you if I go up to this, she'll go out with me tonight. She'll have a great time. I'll bring her back to New York. I'll marry this. Well, what do you think happens when she gets back to New York? She's going to walk 6 blocks down, and some guys will say, hey, do you want to work for the new Terra Bethesda rooftop? She's going to be like, oh, I don't know. I just got here. And then she's going to get it, and she's going to make $5,000 in tips the first night, and that's the end of me. That's the end of me. The whole passport bros thing, it ain't the scam of the week, but it's just as much of a fallacy as watching the movie Wedding Crashers, which I have told you about many times. Wedding Crashers is one of the major travesties that this country has had to offer because it put the false notion in your head, and I'm sorry to repeat myself, that you can go to weddings and meet single bachelorettes. It just doesn't happen. It's impossible. And why is that? Because a bachelorette goes to one of those weddings as a single young woman in her 20s, and then she gets the questions about when she's getting married. Who are you with? And then she feels awful if she's with nobody, so then she wrangles up that friend to go with her the next time, even if she's single. And then if you're a regular guy and you don't know who that is and you're just looking across the family tables, you see a guy and a girl, you assume they're a couple, even though that's just a courtesy friend that she brought there to avoid the questions coming from the other family members. But according to Wedding Crashers, no, everyone's having a single old time. Wilson, Vaughn, all those other girls that they messed around with. When there's that montage shot of girl after girl after girl in his bed, It was a travesty. The same way Disney movies were a travesty, where they taught me that Charlie Conway being nice to the girl meant he would end up with her. No. The girl always ended up with the Hawks. So yeah, the Passport Bros situation is not something that you guys have to worry about. I can assure you of this. Because as soon as they take that passport and come back here, they're going to see how much better it gets for them quick. I spent a whole episode or two telling you that the majority of college girls now, if they have half of a decent anything, not even just a face, half of a decent leg, they're getting feet picture offers in their DM. And this was big news to people who've been out of college for a while. If you're young and you're decent, people are offering you big money in your DM right now. And I'm sorry to break that truth to you, but at least they're tucked in that request folder with like the Russian bots and the scam accounts and those promotions. Do you ever get those on your Instagram, by the way? Specifically, if you use a hashtag. I used the hashtag Boston on something recently. I think maybe I uploaded a clip from my parody, the Goodwill Hunting one, so I just put hashtag Boston. And then I had a couple people saying, follow at Boston Adventures and tag someone. Does that work? Who the hell actually would say, that's so nice of them to comment that on my video? I should go follow the at Boston Adventures account. What the hell is up with those spamish type of comments that automatically kick into some of your Instagram videos? And I'm sorry if you're one of the hidden Instagram people, the lookers, not likers. That's the majority of my friends. They all have Instagram. They all see things, but they haven't posted since 2018. But that's what happens if you are a quote-unquote creator on there and you are trying to upload stuff. You get the spams. But enough about scams and more about scams. Let's do a little scam of the week.
It's a scam.
That's a scam.
What a scam that was.
So this was all a scam, huh?
This week's scam of the week is conductors. What do you mean conductors? Like the guys who operate trains? No. The ones who stand in front of an orchestra and start flailing their arms around like imbeciles as if they are impacting the orchestra's performance. Everybody focused on their stuff that they rehearsed, and this guy gets to go up there claiming like he's orchestra. He's just moving his hand back. You can literally put me on there and I can just start doing the rock people's elbow motion and it ain't gonna change the song. It's not going to change the song. And then what do they do with it? They turn around at the end. Everyone's looking at them standing up, and then they take a bow. They get all the credit for all the people who are actually playing the instruments. What a scam a conductor is. A guy who he's waving a Harry Potter wand without performing any of the magic or the spells. It's the conductor's scam. And what made me think of that? I don't know. I was probably watching it somewhere, and I was like, what is this guy doing? What? Because if you were to watch a conductor on mute, do you know how wild it looks? Mute it the next time. Go watch a band or an orchestra play one that has a conductor up there. Go watch Hans Zimmer performances and mute the band and watch this conductor go at it. It looks like a schizophrenic trying to get out of a straitjacket. No, that's a scam.
It's a scam.
All right, everyone, that just about does it for this week's episode of the podcast. Very glad that you came back. Glad that you enjoyed a little time together here on this afternoon. Enjoy the not warm weather yet. Blame Gregorian, not the weatherman. Another job just like the conductor, a guy who points at numbers on a screen like he somehow was responsible for figuring it all out. No, you just showed up and you're performing. In fact, the weatherman does infinitely less than I'm doing in front of you right now, because at least these are my thoughts. They're just reading numbers on a screen, and what am I going to do? That's a scam for another time, but they're no different than those conductors, those quote-unquote meteorologists. Yeah, meteorologists, the same way a fast food delivery guy is a craft service expediter. Anyway, thank you for coming back. I'm always happy to have you here. Make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube, and then you can find me on all digital platforms if you just type in Andy Francess or You're Still Here, because that's the name of this podcast. Come follow me on social media if you haven't found me yet. It's at Andy Francess on all social media platforms. I will see you guys next time. Take it easy and enjoy the not warm weather.